Hello and welcome to another episode of Arsenal Unfiltered. My name is Mark, and in today's pod you will hear all about the three players that I think will need to do more this season for Arsenal to win the league. And I think my third pick might surprise you, so stick around for that. Like we all know, we've got lofty ambitions this year. We want to win the league, we want to win the Champions League, and maybe throw in an FA Cup or a League Cup as well. So who are those extra players who need to give us 10, 15, 20% more that is going to help get us over the line? We've seen some great performances so far this year against City, against Villa, against Tottenham, even the first half against Liverpool, although it didn't end how we wanted it to. We've seen some great performances, but who are those three players that I think need to improve for us to go out and collect the biggest trophies this year? We're going to start with number one, and we're going to start at the top end of the pitch, and that is Gabriel Jesus. When we brought him in, he was our star man. I always remember when I think of Gabriel Jesus for Arsenal, I think of that goal against Leicester where he was on the kind of corner of the penalty area and lifts and curls a beautiful ball into the far corner over Kasper Schmeichel, and that was really the moment that we felt he arrived, and that's the one that sticks in my head as peak Gabriel Jesus. He was on a tear for the first 6 months of his first season, but injuries have been a massive problem for him. Of course, we all know about the 2022 World Cup and the knee injury. It's very likely that he went to that World Cup slightly injured, made it a little bit worse, and since then he's never ever got back to it. But it is something like 23 games now for Gabriel Jesus without a goal, and that's really disappointing. When we're looking to go on and win a title, we need to share goals around. We need to have someone who is lethal off the bench, and we need to be able to share that goal burden. Kai Havertz has been brilliant up front, but ultimately his form, he won't be on fire all year. No player is. Even the likes of Erling Haaland goes through dips. Bukayo Saka cannot be expected to continue at the output that he currently is at. Gabriel Jesus is in some arguments the next man in for both of those spots. People might argue Raheem Sterling on the right or Trossard through the middle. The knee, Gabriel Jesus, with the experience he has, the money we pay him, he needs to be the next man in on both of those spots, and he needs to share the burden with those two players. He needs to pick up the goals, he needs to pick up a couple of assists. If he doesn't start doing better and becoming a difference maker off the bench, we're going to really struggle. The other thing that he needs to be able to do is come on for 30 minutes and, be trusted by Mikel Arteta. I don't think he's got his trust at the moment, which is a shame, especially when you consider how Gabriel Jesus came into Arsenal as that promised, the number 9 shirt is yours, you are going to be our guy. Now I'm not sure Mikel Arteta trusts him. He doesn't seem to want to throw him in early in big games, and we need him to get that trust back by scoring goals, getting assists, get that trust back and be able to take some minutes for Bukayo and Kai, 30 minutes at the end of a game. When we've got a Champions League game midweek, he needs to step up, gain that trust back and be ready to come in. That's Gabriel Jesus, number one. Number two, this might be a bit of a weird one and a bit harsh because he hasn't really seen much of the pitch so far this year, but I think Jorginho is a big player for us and is going to become really big, especially when we get into that Christmas period where the games start to pile up even more. We will need someone to come in and again pick up minutes at the end of games for Thomas Partey and Declan Rice. Those guys have played a lot of football already this year, and especially Thomas Partey, who I think has been a bit of a miracle this year. If we're talking about bad luck, right? We've had a lot of bad luck with red cards, injuries to our key players as well. We've got to talk about the good luck we've had as well. And rediscovering Thomas Partey as a top quality player and a player that can stay fit as well is such a great piece of luck. But we've got to remember that this is a guy who has barely been fit for 2 years. We can't rely on him to stay fit and stay at the level he's at. We need someone to come in and start saving his legs. Now, we've got Declan Rice, of course, we've got Mikel Merino, but it's very likely that at some point, one of those guys will need to drop out of the team for some rest, or even we just need to preserve them because they are real ground coverers for us. Both of those guys cover a lot of ground, do a lot of work, and compete a lot. We are going to need that next guy up, and Jorginho's that man. Not just the minutes, though. That's a really key thing I want to put forward in this argument that Jorginho needs to step up. We're going to need his experience. And it's the same thing as Gabriel Jesus. Get back to a point where Mikel Arteta trusts you enough to get in the squad and contribute a bit more. That's where I think Jorginho's at. So we need him to be doing more in training. We need him to be, impressing in maybe against Preston tomorrow night. Impress in that game, make Mikel Arteta trust you again so that when, we get into a game state where we're 3 up, hopefully 4 up, we haven't seen it many times this year, but we hope it's coming, that we can slot Jorginho in and preserve some of those first 11 players, right? We have to be in a place where we can say to Thomas Partey, well done, fantastic work, but actually we know you have thigh problems, we're going to sit you down now. Thomas Partey's played a lot, and he's played a lot at right back where he has to cover an enormous amount of ground. We need to protect him, and I think Jorginho is key to that. Before I come on to number 3, if you have enjoyed this episode of Arsenal Unfiltered or you've enjoyed any of our episodes, please give us a follow. It would be really appreciated. I'm trying to I'm trying to expand the community at Arsenal Unfiltered, and a follow will go a really, really long way to helping that. And on to our final player who needs to do more for Arsenal to win the league this year. This is my shock pick. It's Gabriel Martinelli. And I know some people will be thinking, what? He is one of our best players. He's part of a devastating and brilliant front three for Arsenal. I'm not saying he's been bad. I actually think he has started this season far better than what we saw from him last year. He's contributing with goals and assists, and as well as doing that, he is producing defensive performances and team contributions above, so many players in this league. I think it's a really underrated element of what Martinelli does. He protects whatever left back is behind him so well, gets through so much work for the team, and I think he's quite tactically intelligent. He's an astute player, and for his age, he is so integral to how that left side works. And the left side should be all about facilitating Martinelli for me, because he's a brilliant player with electric pace and he complements other areas of the team so well. But for me, if we're going to win the league this year, we're going to need more goals and more assists from him. We need him to start getting closer to that Bukayo Saka level of efficiency. I'm not saying he needs to be Bukayo Saka. There are very few teams in the world that have 2 Bukayo Saka level players, and we could argue we've got Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka already, those really top class attacking talents. I don't think Martinelli needs to get there, but he needs to get back to that 15 goals kind of season. We really need him in there winning games for us, and again, it's similar point to the Gabriel Jesus point. We need him to share that burden. Kai and Bukayo are going to have games where they're a little bit quieter. It's the natural flow of football. And at that point, we are going to need our third man to step up. That third man is Gabriel Martinelli. But that's it, guys. That's my 3 players who need to do more this year for Arsenal to win the league. Really appreciate you listening. Like I said earlier in the pod, if you want to give us a follow because you've enjoyed this episode, that would be greatly appreciated. So thank you for following, thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you very, very soon.